This online course will give you the skills to reference, quote, and paraphrase academic and non-academic sources at the university level. This course consists of 3 units. Unit 1, Sources of Information. Unit 2, Referencing and Citing. Unit 3, Quoting and Paraphrasing. As a university student, you will be required to find information for your written assignments, presentations, and exams. So you need to make sure that this information is reliable and credible. This is very important. Your grades will be negatively impacted if you use bad or dubious sources. More importantly, when you use reliable and credible information, you demonstrate your own credibility as an academic. Credibility is central to your academic success. Here is an audio clip of the pitfalls of using bad sources.
The hatred and bigotry is represented for me by a Tory party who have deported illegally Windrush migrants, who have let 139,000 people die from austerity. You know, there's no doubt in my mind which party I need to vote for at this election. And it's not about Brexit. And it's not just about anti-Semitism. It's about fairness and equality for all people. And for me as a Jew, about solidarity.
Just for clarity, where did you get the number on 139,000 people in austerity?
I think it was in the papers a few months ago that as a result of austerity.
I think that's a number some people would dispute. I just wanted to check where you got the number from.
Okay.
That was a train wreck. I actually agreed with her argument, but her failure to use credible and reliable sources significantly weakened her argument. Moving on. There are 4 main reliable and credible sources of information: a journal article, a book, a report, a web page. Journal articles are articles written by scholars or experts on a very specific subject. You could find these types of articles in a journal. For instance, the Journal of Occupational Psychology. In this journal, you will find articles that place a psychological emphasis on people in workplaces, or the Human Resources Management Review. In this journal, you'll find articles about the management of people at work, or AMS Review. You'll find articles about marketing and marketing theory. So in a sense, a journal is like a magazine because it contains several different types of articles and it is published periodically. The main difference between a magazine and a journal is that journal articles are written by scholars and experts. Another difference is that in order for an article to be accepted by a journal, it has to be scrutinized and peer-reviewed by scholars. This is why journal articles are among the best sources of information you could use for your assignments, presentations, and essays. Furthermore, journal articles tend to be more up-to-date than other sources. For the latest research, most people seek out a journal article. Journal articles are much shorter than other sources because of their very specific focus. Most journal articles will have an abstract at the beginning. An abstract is a summary of the entire journal article. Just by reading the abstract, you will have a good understanding of what the article is about. You will also notice that journal articles tend to contain information about the author and citation details. So where can we find credible journal articles? Many years ago, students had to search through a whole journal just to find an article. Nowadays, there are easier ways to find a credible article. As a Birkbeck student, you will have access to the library catalogue. Every journal article that you find in this catalogue will be credible and reliable. The second source of information are books, authored by a scholar or an expert. Books are great sources of information. There are 3 main types of books. There are single issue books. These books cover a single area, usually written by 1 or more scholars. You'll find that these types of books were originally smaller journal articles that were developed into a book later on. Another type of book is an edited volume. This is where one or more scholars act as editors. They will request many different scholars to write a chapter or section for their book. Another type of book is a textbook. A textbook is written by one or more scholars to introduce students to the topic area. It contains a collection of the main theories, the main concepts, and the main principles in a topic area. You'll also find many editions of textbooks. As new information comes into the field, you'll see updates every few years. It is possible to find a textbook that has been updated 7 or 8 times over a 20-year period. So you should try to use the latest edition. The third source of information is a report. A report is a good source of information for your assignments, presentations, and exams. A report is a document that presents information in an organized format for a very specific audience and purpose. You should only use reports that are written by academics, the government, and well-known and reputable organizations. What I mean by well-known and reputable organizations are organizations that have a presence and influence beyond the internet. They try to establish some semblance of neutrality. Also, scrutinize the website that hosts the report. Why not Google the names of the authors of the report to see who they are? The fourth source of information are websites of the UK government and also well-known and reputable organisations. Look to see if the website contains advertising. Most reputable websites do not contain overt advertising. Also, look at the domain name. For example, websites that end in ac.uk, .edu, gov.uk are generally reliable. Avoid websites like Wikipedia, MindTools, and Simply Psychology. We only know these platforms as generic websites. They do not have a presence and influence beyond the internet. Often we can't determine the name of the specific author, and we don't know if or how the information was scrutinized by external parties. So it's safer to use websites of the UK government and reputable organizations. These websites host articles, reports, news briefings, policy updates, stakeholder submission, and commentaries to help you complete your assignments, presentations, and exams. So these are the 4 main sources of information that will enable you to produce reliable and credible and hopefully influential academic work. Points to remember: when you are using sources to get data, statistics, figures, try to get the most recent sources. Welcome to Unit 2. In this unit, we will cover referencing and citing your credible sources. All academic work builds on the ideas and discoveries of previous scholars. As an academic, and you are an academic now, you are building on the ideas and discoveries of scholars. You are carrying on this tradition. It is like you are building a Lego house. You are building from the bricks of scholars to construct your own house. Maybe somebody will see what you have built and they will like to build on top of your structure. This is the nature of academia. When we use a brick to build a house, or use the work of scholars to write our assignment, we need to state where we took the brick from. We need to show the location of where we took it. If we do not show the source of where we took our information, then we will commit plagiarism. Plagiarism is taking the work from someone else without declaring where we took it from. Not just the work of scholars. Wherever you take information, you must show where you took it from. If I state the population of the UK is 67 million, I must acknowledge that I took this information from the Office of National Statistics. I did not count the population of the UK myself. It came from the Office of National Statistics. So I need to declare that I took this information from the Office of National Statistics. So all information that comes from outside of you, you need to declare the source. For example, there is no way that you could have known about the theory of human capital without reading about it. So you need to acknowledge the source that you read. It would be impossible for you to know about laissez-faire management styles without you reading about the topic. Additionally, if you make claims in your assignment, presentation, and essay, you need to declare the source of your evidence. For instance, you may claim in your assignment that coaching programs improve the well-being of staff members. How could you possibly know this? How could you know without reading the work of somebody else? How can you know without researching this topic? So how do you declare the source of your information? You need a citation and a full reference. A citation is placed in the actual text of your assignment, and a full reference is placed at the end of your assignment. Let us look at an example. You want to get information for an assignment, so you start reading this book. You come across some useful information that you could use for your assignment. So you take this information and put it in your assignment, but you haven't copied the information exactly. You have put the information in your own words, or you have paraphrased the information. It is better to paraphrase because this will make your assignment stronger, whereas copying information makes your assignment weaker. Everyone can cut and paste. Everyone can copy. But when you paraphrase, it shows that you truly understand the text. Although we respect and appreciate the work of scholars, we want our voices to be heard as well. We are not robots. We are conscious, contemplative, thinking, effective human beings who also have a voice. So after we have paraphrased this information, then we need to put a citation to declare where this information was taken from. The citation is simply the surname and the year, the surname of the author and the year that it was published. Mintzberg is the author's surname, and this book was published in 2015. Or if an organization wrote this book, you would put the name of the organization and the year it was published. Whether you are reading a book or a journal or a report, whatever, the citation is always the same. Surname of the author and the year it was published in brackets, or the name of the organization and the year it was published in brackets. This is the citation covered. Let us now look at the full reference. At the end of your assignment, you need to put the full reference of the source in your bibliography, so the audience or the marker can easily find the source that you used. There are many different referencing styles. However, within this school, it is either APA or Harvard. APA and Harvard referencing styles are very similar. Just below this video, you'll find a Harvard referencing guide and an APA referencing guide to download. Keep these guides with you throughout your academic journey. These simple and concise guides will show you how to format your citation and full reference to suit each source that you use. Let us now look at the citation and full reference again in more depth. Regarding the citation, you can cite sources in three ways. You can put the citation at the beginning of the sentence. You could put the citation at the end of the sentence, or you can put the citation as part of the actual sentence. Let us look at another example. You can put the citation at the beginning of the sentence, or you can put the citation at the end of the sentence, or you could put the citation as part of the actual sentence. Also, you can cite more than one source in the brackets. Place a semicolon between each of the sources. The semicolon separates the sources. Showing multiple sources in one bracket demonstrates that you have read widely. It shows that you have read multiple sources about one specific issue. There are two matters to consider when writing the full reference of your sources. First, you must list the full reference of your sources in alphabetical order. Second, the full reference has a specific format for each source. For example, if your source is a single issue book, your full reference will look like this. If your source is a journal article, your full reference will look like this. If you want to see more types of formatting, please refer to the APA and Harvard referencing guides just below this video. These guides will show you how to format full references in line with the source that you use. Top 5 things to avoid. There are a number of things to avoid when you are citing sources. Avoid citing the website address. Just cite the author, whether the author is a human or an organization. Website addresses belong in the full reference at the end of your assignment in the bibliography. Avoid bracketing the author and the year at the beginning of the sentence. Avoid putting more than the surname in the citation. Just put the surname. No initials, no first name, just the surname. Avoid citing the same sources over and over again. Show the diversity of your sources. Citing the same sources indicates that you have not read about the topic much, whereas citing a variety of sources gives the impression that you have read widely. Avoid underciting. I mean by this that you should avoid minimal citation. Cite as much as possible. You want to show that every point that you raised in your assignment has come from a good source. Generally, you will not be penalized for over-referencing, but you will be penalized for under-referencing. The rule of thumb, if you are in doubt whether you should cite the source or not, you should lean towards citing the source. Cite everything. If you use someone else's ideas, cite it. If you use someone else's images, cite it. If you use someone else's logo, cite it. If you use someone else's model, cite it. We cover the citation and the full reference. You do not have to memorize everything. Take your time, watch the video, and when you start to write your assignment, download one of the referencing guides below this video. It will get significantly easier with time. Also, the mark is not looking for perfection. The odd mistake here or there is not the end of the world. Just try to be consistent and proficient, and you will not have any issues. Welcome to Unit 3. We will discuss quoting and paraphrasing. Quoting is when you copy the words that someone else has said or written. At the other end of the spectrum, paraphrasing is when you express the meaning of someone else's words using your own words. Before I discuss the rules to quoting, I would like to say, only quote in exceptional circumstances. Only quote if the phrasing is distinct or stands out, or perhaps the text just describes an idea so clearly that you want to capture the exact words. With that said, it is better to paraphrase in most circumstances. Paraphrasing indicates that you have a good understanding of the topic, whereas quoting is defined by cut and paste. The marker has no idea if you really understand what you are cutting and pasting. Also, the more you quote, the higher the similarity index. When students submit an assignment, a similarity percentage is given. If this similarity percentage is too high, it could lead to uncomfortable discussions. Paraphrasing has significantly less rules than quoting. There are only really two rules to paraphrasing. Number one, you have to use different words. It doesn't have to be 100% different from the original, but it has to be largely rephrased. Rule number two, you need a citation. That is it. Very simple. As we will see, quoting comes with much more rules. If the text that you are quoting is less than 40 words, then the quote should be placed in double quotation marks. This shows that they are someone else's words, not your own words. Also, you need to write the page number of where you took the quote from. And a full stop after the citation. However, if the section that you want to quote is more than 40 words or more than 2 sentences, you need to do 6 things. I repeat, 6 things. This is so much more than paraphrasing. Number 1, do not use quotation marks. Number 2, then you need to separate the quote from the rest of the paragraph. Number 3, then you need to indent the quote. Number 4, then place a colon before the indented quote. Number 5, if you are using the APA style of referencing, place the full stop before the citation bracket. Alternatively, if you are using the Harvard style of referencing, you need to place the full stop after the citation bracket. Finally, number 6, place the page number in the citation bracket. If you are using the APA style of referencing, write P dot, then a space before the page number. Alternatively, if you are using the Harvard style of referencing, write P dot with no space before the page number. These are the 6 things that you need to do, which are far more complex than the rules of paraphrasing. As we explained, paraphrasing should be the preferred approach. Paraphrasing can help you think about and understand the text that you are paraphrasing. When you rephrase another person's ideas, it forces you to think about what that person is really saying. I will go through 3 techniques to help you put the text of others into your own words. The first technique is called tinkering. In essence, you tinker with the original words. Number 1, use a thesaurus. Or go to Microsoft Word, right-click the word, and click on synonyms. Synonyms will give you a number of alternative words. Number 2, go from active voice to passive voice. Number 3, rearrange or reorder sentences. Number 4, add and omit words. Number 5, change the verb tense. So this is the tinkering technique. The aim is to tinker with the text so that it does not look like the original. This technique is a piecemeal approach, bit by bit. You have the original text in front of you and you are moving words around, replacing words with other words, changing the grammar. You do not have to use each of these 5 steps. Maybe just 1 or 2 is sufficient enough to rephrase what is in front of you. Maybe all you need to do is add and omit words, or just to change the grammar tense. But be warned, when you are tinkering, do not make your paraphrase overly complicated or too wordy. Keep it simple, keep it direct. Sometimes there is a danger of overcomplicating the original text. The original text was much more simple, but we overcomplicated it by tinkering too much. You are not given extra marks for using big and elaborate words. We want the person marking our work to understand it. Another word of warning is to keep the same general meaning. Sometimes too much tinkering changes the meaning, especially when you use a thesaurus or synonyms. Keep the meaning as best you can. This is your academic duty. The second technique is called a central message. The previous technique was a piecemeal approach, bit by bit. This technique is much more straightforward. Read the passage that you want to paraphrase. Reflect on the central message of this passage. What is this text trying to say in the most simple terms? Can I summarize this message in just a sentence? Then avert your eyes from the text and try to recreate and write out the central message with nothing in front of you. The last technique is the Frankenstein approach. Instead of using one source to paraphrase, you paraphrase from 2 or more sources to explain one matter. So you take a few words from a journal article, then you take a few words from a book, then you take a few words from another journal article to create one paraphrase. Yes, you may have to slightly modify these words, but ultimately you create one from many, hence the term Frankenstein. So an example here is that you wish to define management for your assignment. You take a few words from a journal article source that has defined management. You come across another book that defines management, and you come across another journal article that defines management. You take a few words from each of these sources with a slight modification and put them in your assignment. Now you have created this Frankenstein paraphrase. This one paraphrase contains all three sources. The best thing about this approach is that you cite all three sources in one bracket. Separate each of the sources with a semicolon. Citing these three sources increases your citation count. This is good. It shows that you have read a variety of sources. You have not got an explanation from just one source. You have read many sources. Before you paraphrase or quote someone else's work, it is always good to introduce the quote or paraphrase with a sentence. Sometimes the reason that you included the quote or paraphrase is not entirely clear. Writing a sentence beforehand clarifies the reason and makes your work easier to read. If we look at the screen now, this is a typical paraphrase. This is fine, but we want to add further clarity with this additional sentence. Now the matter is very clear. We have not included a random paraphrase. We have shown the reasoning behind it. By adding the extra sentence, we also show ownership. We are controlling the narrative now. We are controlling the words of scholars. Also, why not add contextual information to show that you have really read the work of the person you are paraphrasing or quoting? This is a typical paraphrase. Why not add some additional words to show more information of Smith's work? Perhaps add a few words to show that you are aware of the scholar that you are quoting or paraphrasing. Or add a few words to indicate that you read widely. You are not only aware of Johnson's argument, but you are aware of the context and universe around Johnson's argument. You demonstrate here that Johnson was reacting to something. He was reacting to another article. You have indicated that this paraphrase is part of a wider debate. This is the type of writing and thought process that the marker appreciates. Just to conclude this point, when you paraphrase or quote, think about adding an extra sentence or a few words beforehand. Especially when starting a new paragraph. Avoid starting a new paragraph with a quote or paraphrase. Start a new paragraph with a sentence or a few words that introduces the quote or paraphrase.